Hey, good evening. Good evening, everyone, or anyone. I'm not one who likes to make videos, although it seems I keep telling God, as I pray a lot, and I say, God, I am terrible at making videos, and He asks me to make them. I want to explain to people how we got to where we are and where we're going, how we got there, where we are, and how we're going, where we're going. And I'm going to use some things on the internet, simple on the screen to show you. And so if you can follow my line of thought, then the whole world, the way it is today, will make a bit more sense, I believe. I'm not 100% sure. I might take myself off the screen to make this stuff a little bigger that's on here so that you'll be able to read it. First, I just want to say a quick prayer, boy, and just because I'm serious about what I'm telling you, and I want God's help with it. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Now I want you to realize that God, um, that the evil doesn't want this out there, in other words. So you'll see that my screen for the last 4 or 5 days, or the last couple of videos, my actions of my face are behind my voice. So I'm probably just going to remove my face because it just keeps freezing. But I'm pretty sure people can hear me. Okay. So first thing we have here. Oh, brother. This is like really messing with me. All right. I'm just going to do it this way. Press Shift 8. Shift 8. I don't know. All right. Let's try it like this. Let me just remove. Oh, I think that might work somehow. You don't see me, right? Okay. Can anyone hear me? Let me see if I'm on X Live. I just want to check real quick because I don't know if I'm broadcasting or not. I'm alone. I don't have a team. I don't make money doing this. You know what I'm saying? So just give me 1 second. God, I hate when this happens all the time. They're messing with me. They don't want what I'm saying to you to hear it. Yeah, it's not loading on X. Ah, it's spinning. Okay, let's go. Yeah, they're not letting it. Oh boy. Oh, I don't know what to do. I don't know. If anyone can hear me, they let me know because um, I'm very sensitive. Okay, I have something really important. If you could hang out for a minute and see if I can work out this silly problem. Yeah, X is not really working. I got like says I have 2 views. I'm not really sure. It seems to be working a little bit. Oh, I'm waiting to see. Okay. I'm just going to continue. If it doesn't work, then it's on God. And 3 world wars. This is Albert Pike. I'm going to start with Albert Pike. Albert Pike was if you never heard of him, he was a Confederate general in the Civil War. He was put in prison for war crimes because he had his troops scalping people in cities alive. And President Lincoln locked him up, and 2 presidents later let him out. I forget the name of the president. He's the highest ranking Freemason. There's a statue of him in D.C., a murdering maniac who was a devout Luciferian and the highest ranked Freemason, which Freemasonry is Luciferian. And he would invoke demons using the Kabbalah, which is the Jewish form of mysticism. And I believe it was King Solomon, I could be wrong on the king, that used and had to hide it because he couldn't control the demons. So this is dated 1871, this letter. So they'll tell you that this is a fake letter and that it wasn't real because it used to be in the Museum of England and then they took it out. But they say it appeared in 1950. Even if it appeared in 1950, you'd have to admit when I get to a certain part. But I want to explain a couple of things first real quick. So Albert Pike was he wrote Morals and Dogma, which he talks, he compares Satan to be, or Lucifer to be equal with God, Adoni. And so here let's go with the first. He has this, the devil gave him Lucifer gave him a prediction to 3 world wars to take over the world, as the story goes. The First World War must be brought in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the powers of the czars in Russia and making a country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergencies caused by the adjunct agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. And at the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy other governments. Okay, so students in history will recognize the political alliances of England on one side and Germany on the other, forged between 1871, when this letter was written, and 1898, and Otto von Bismarck, co-conspirator of Albert Pike, was instrumental in bringing about the First World War. Okay, so the First World War was to get rid of Russia. So we all know that communism is a construct of Judaism, Talmudic Judaism. Okay, so Talmudic, not Judaism, but a political Zionist movement of Judaism, where they used the Jewish population, enrolled them into this belief, and twisted some Talmudic teachings that were actually produced around the same time as Islam. So that's why you'll see Muhammad has a lot of the same sort of beliefs that the Talmudic has, and that would be the radical Islamics that you don't want to chop people's heads off and make them slaves and belong to their faith, which the Talmudic teaches Jews to kill all Christians and kill them, cut off their heads, take their money, steal, rob, rape them. So those things that are those are similar because they're written around the same time, the same centuries. Okay. And that's why they're very similar, because Muhammad had influence from Judaism and Christianity. Okay. So he kind of stuck it all together, but that stuff is all in there. And so unfortunately today you have a lot of Muslims who believe that crazy stuff, that they're going to take over the world, and just like the Talmudic Jews believe, exact same belief system. Wow, I knocked my mouse right off the table. So, so this is World War I. When they took down the czars, they tried to take out the Eastern Rite churches, and in all Eastern Europe, and they took parts of Germany, obviously, too, in World War I. World War II, I'm just going to go, because I'm going to go into some other things that connect everything. So you just have to bear with the Albert Pike story for a little bit. The Second World War must be formatted by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. The war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that the political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel and Palestine. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm 3, which would be World War III. And after World War II, communism was made strong enough to begin to take over and weaken governments. In 1945, the Potsdam Conference between Truman, Churchill, and Stalin made a large portion of Europe was simply handed over to Russia and the other side of the world. In the aftermath of the world with Japan helped to sweep the tide of communism into China's. And there's some readers argue whatever about was not known yet. In 1871, you will see that this is the letter from Albert Pike. And there was the thought of communism, although this interpretation of the letter, whatever, I don't know. They may have changed the words like they do, but it was communism. So if you take communism, Marxism, socialism, it's all the same thing. It's an enslavement of the people under the government, a totalitarian government. So the Third World War, I'm going to leave that for right now, and I'm going to switch to another tab. So this is another tab. I'm going to share this tab. I'm going to just stay on StreamYard for a second, and I'm going to just, maybe I can make this bigger. No, I can't. I can make it bigger through StreamYard. I don't know. So this is about Theodore Herzl. I want they'll tell me, oh, you pronounce, and it's a Wikipedia, and it's just going to go through the life of Theodore Herzl. So Theodore Herzl was basically, he wanted to be an actor, he wanted to be a writer, he wanted to be a journalist. He wanted to integrate into the German society and have the Jews all, integrate. But he saw in the French Revolution someone who was a guilty traitor. So he came up with the idea, right? So you have the letter written in 1871 by Albert Pike, and he wrote in 1876, 1880. I don't remember. He came up with the 1897. I'm sorry, the first Zionist Congress, but he came up with this idea. Because there was some anti-Semitic, in this anti-Semitic word, this is a made-up word. This is not a real word. That it's just made up. It's new because it's anti-Semitic, meaning Semitic people. But since they're not Semitic, they can't use that word. So they made a new word. So he decided that he came up with an idea because he's a writer. He wrote a book, I think it was called, I'll see if I can find it here. You can go, on Wikipedia and read all about Theodore Herzl because it's a really stupid story. He's not a bright man, and he obviously got backup money, and that, which they don't list in here, would be the Rothschilds. So the Rothschilds liked his idea because it went with. So the Rothschilds are satanic Luciferians, okay, and they control the money. So the money's the root of all evil. So if you take London City, the 3 city-states, and so London City takes care of the money, and that's through the Rothschilds and the other families. They're satanic. They're the synagogue of Satan. And so the root of all evil is money. And the root of Christianity, per se, is Jesus. So the root of evil is Satan. Is the money. They control this debt system, this fake money. They print paper out of nowhere, thin air, and then make you pay them, and they get assets back for it. That's how they took control of the world. It's a very bright kind of idea, and we can't get rid of it because no one can understand another type of money system. Sadly, although all the crazy things Hitler did, the one thing he did do that was right, except for he only did it for German people mostly, was he took away usury and interest, and he started out with certificates and building factories. He was giving everyone a house and paying them to have children, and he built in 7 years the strongest economy in Europe. And that really pissed off the Rothschilds, central bankers, the satanic people, because he was showing them the right way to live, except for he was just doing it with the Germans. But the Jews took that in Israel. When I say Jews, I mean the Zionists. They took that in today's Israel, so they don't pay any interest and they get everything for free. And we'll get into that story in 1 minute. So Herzl, he got the backing from and Britain was already enslaved into the banking system, and that's why they made the deal for World War II to go against Germany, because Germany was outdoing them and stopping them. And the Bolsheviks who took over this and created the Soviet Union were Jewish Zionists, and they couldn't control that many people in that many countries, so they were losing control. And so they wanted to get rid of Germany, because Germany was really putting a hole in their thing, but they were being successful. Everybody was making good money, and everyone had a job, and everyone had a house, and they were having babies. So the Jewish population of the world, the Zionist Jews, because they keep saying the Jewish population, and it wasn't. So in 1897, in the first Jewish Zionist political movement, most of the people practicing Judaism, the Jews, believed in God and were holy people and praying, and did not believe in political Zionism and that they needed a home state. So in that, I'm going to switch to one more map, because if I make this too long, it'll drive people crazy. So I'm going to share this tab instead. This is the historic population of Palestine, 1872 to 1948. 1872 in Palestine, out of 400,000 people, 4% were Jewish. In 1882, 5%. Okay, so this is when Theodore Herzl and the Rothschilds started paying Jews to move there, giving them free shit. Oh, gee, that sounds familiar. Exactly what's happening today in America and Western Europe, because they're putting us in conflict with Islam, which is back to the Albert Pike letter. And we'll get there in a minute. But then in 1914, as World War I is going in, there's 10% to 1918 to 1931, because the League of Nations failed. And that's when they wrote back in here, when they wrote the Balfour Agreement, and it was supposed to be passed by the League of Nations, and it didn't work. But then in 1945, at the end of World War II, it went to 28%. And then when they got to 48%, that's when they made the country of Israel through the British and the Balfour Agreement with the Zionists, the Rothschilds, the Satanists. And they had enough Jews that they had given free land to, free loans, free money, free health care. And they just took the money from America and other Western countries to give it to the Jews to make them move there. When the ones who didn't want to move there, like the Iraqi Jews, they just started bombing them and saying it was the Muslims. And so a lot of Iraqi Jews then also moved in this time period up to in between these years into Israel, what they call today Israel. And so this is, if you look at a map, this I'm going to click this map on. This was Palestine, 100% Palestine, right? Historic Palestine. This is, and then they moved to 1847. They skip all of they took piece. They gave them originally. I can find a little better map. Let me see if I got this one. This is where like the Jewish settlements originally were. And so in Palestine, the orange Jewish settlements up to 1947. So it gives you a little clearer picture. There were hardly any Jews there. It was about 500,000 Jews or something like that. And they were convinced. So what happens is when they had this small population here and they started moving them in, The Zionists started setting up yeshivas that taught Zionism, a different version of the Talmudic stuff of you're gonna, rule the world and kill all the Christians and all of that stuff, and get your own land. So it started becoming teaching to the children in the school, and the parents accepted that because they're getting all the free stuff, houses and stuff, and businesses, and all kinds of money. They got everything. So they take them and they pit them against a poor population, a much poorer population. And so as these percentages grow, you have people who will have the most money in the world today given by the Rothschilds on purpose to create an adversary against the poor people. They make a conflict. They're crashing cultures, and they keep telling these people, "You're chosen. You're the best people in the world. You can kill anybody, and it doesn't matter. They're animals. They're not human." They're teaching their children all the way from here. This is generational. From 1914 to 1948 to 2025. You'll see 5-year-old Jewish kids saying, "We want to kill Arabs. We want to kill everybody." They teach them that. And then you say, "Oh, no, yeah, they do." And the same thing with Islam, because both of those religions were created around the same time, the Talmudic stuff, and then the interpretation. So they use money to get these radical Islamic people to get these crazy interpretations of the head choppers and the rape the women and all this other stuff. The other thing is, in the Western world today, they're sending all their worst Islamics to like England and France and Germany. So like emptying out their prisons with the crazy people, mostly males, and Somalia and all these third world nations where it's hard to integrate into our culture, and they're just sending them here, and mostly males. So of course, that's where you get the R problem, RAPE, and other kind of conflicts. But then on the other hand, the Zionists are playing the game of slowly killing the Palestinians to create turmoil so that people will turn against the Jews in the world. They're doing it on purpose so that everyone hates Jews, because you can't stand watching them shoot little kids in the head. And they actually taught them to be psychotic like that through these years when they were building the population of Israel, making believe that that's true. It's not. The Jews who follow the original Torah, they don't believe in that, and that they don't believe they even should have a homeland, because they know that God removed them and that God will bring them back when he comes. They don't believe that they have to kind of make it happen and take over a land and kill people to get the land. And obviously that's not God's teaching in any religion. So Islam is wrong, and so is Zionism, and Talmudic teaching, very wrong. Christianity is the only religion really that teaches turn the other cheek and do that. Now, as we went into World War II, and I'm going to go back to the Albert Pike page for a second. When we went into World War II, the difference after World War II was this: all the monarchies were gone, and everyone was pretty much, there were Catholic monarchies, kings and queens. Although there was Protestantism there too with the King Henry thing, and he was a murderer, King Henry, and he created his own church. And I don't know how Protestants follow that. And his cousin, who was a homosexual and kind of a satanic dabbler, wrote the King James Bible. He had it written by theologians, but of course they put what he wanted in it, took the books out, and they created a whole new religion, which is we call today Protestantism. So you'll see some references to Protestantism as we get into Third World War. I'll show you who they are, which, of course, there's a prophecy of the Third World War. I told you I'm not the best narrator. So we have all of this going on. We went through the Second World War. When we were before the Second World War, how we stopped the Muslims from who were sent by the Jews, Zionist people, those same controlling elite entities that were sending them into Europe to crush Christians, the Christian empires. The way we were able to stop them were all the countries united and sent the Crusaders. They were from all different countries, and they defeated the Islamics and kept them back down in the Middle East. That's how they pushed them back. But guess what? There are no more monarchs. There is no more unity in Christianity. That was destroyed in the 1500s by King Henry VIII, the murderer. That's choosing Barabbas if you chose that religion, by the way, because he's a murderer. If you would think about choosing Jesus's church or the murderer, anyone who followed through the King James Bible, that thing, you're on the wrong track. I know you're not going to like it, but you're being taught wrong. It's not that you're not looking for Jesus and you're not trusting in Jesus and believing Jesus, your Lord and Savior. Yes, you do. But your center, your focus, your Jesus, the divinity of Jesus, like in the Eucharist, is taken away from you. And that's their whole goal, is to take the divinity of Jesus out of the church. That's why they changed the name of the Church of England to the Church of the Congregation of England. No more church. They're taking the divinity out of Christ. And so now they have us set up where now they're infiltrating us with Islamics and they're crashing the cultures. Okay, you can see that happening in the Western Europe and in America. And they're doing it on purpose. So let's read the Third World War from Albert Pike. Right, I have the right tab cheered. Albert Pike, yes. Okay, the Third World War must be formatted by taking advantage of the differences caused by the angature of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. Notice, political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. Who would that be? Would that be Israel and the leaders of the Islamic world, which they already owned with money? So the people who supported Theodore Herschel and the Zionist movement are the Rothschilds, the money people, the root of all evil. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, or the Muslim Arab world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, they show you here, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical. And here they took it out, whatever it says, decline. So you see it happening now. It's happening exactly right now. Do you think eventually the whole world Israel is slow killing the Palestinians to turn everyone against the Jews so that this war can happen? Now, all the way back at this map, when they're doing the devil, so they're doing Albert Pike, what the devil told Albert Pike, Theodore Herschel there, and the Rothschilds and all, that's what they're doing. So they're creating this war to get everyone to hate each other, right? They're putting the people there to do that. And so they moved this up and, to take over Israel, to piss everybody off in the world, and showing us babies. Everyone's hating Jews. Now, Jews are going around spitting in Zionist Jews. You know what? Even I screw up. The Zionist Jews who have been trained in Zionism are spitting in Christians' faces. And, even I made a video. It's like, how about we spit back in your face in America and see how you like it? Because it's like a kind of a greeting, right? They come up and say, hi, poof, and spit in your face. Like, we hate you, get out of here. Would they like it? What would happen if Americans went up to Orthodox Jews and spit in their face and started cursing them out? What happened to the person who did that? But an Orthodox Jew would spit in the Christian. What happened to them? It's being set on purpose. That's why they're giving. Wait, did they give all the Jews money to move to Israel and free property? Are they doing a similar thing in Europe and America? In Chicago, the immigrants get $5,000 a month cash, $15,000 a month in food stamps, and what is the other? Free housing for a year in a luxury hotel sometimes. They're doing the same thing in America. So they're going to clash the cultures. So, so we can go back to the map. Oh, I didn't share this map. I keep forgetting to click the button. So in this time period when they were doing that, that's what they were doing. They were giving them the free stuff and everything. Now they're doing that in America. They're bringing people in and giving them free stuff. And of course, they're going to come. That's why the Jews moved to Israel. Then when they got them there, they indoctrinated them with Zionism. Okay, now they all believe it because they don't know. Their generation, they grew up, they were born, and that's what they were taught from all the way back here. Remember Theodore Herschel? See the increase in the populations? That's when they started getting them over there, giving them free stuff. But this is right here is when the League of Nations fell and it didn't work for them. But then in 1945, they came back and they created Israel through the UN, which replaced the League of Nations. And now in today's, they're the majority. They took over the whole country and they've been killing the Palestinian people since. Even if you go back to Theodore Herzl on Wikipedia and you read in here, you'll see that in 1904, the plan was to kill the people by the poor people, keeping them poor and giving the Ashkenazi Jewish people money to take over land. And they, let me see if I can find where they hired the group that joined the Zionists, what they were called, that they were and somebody. I'm trying to think who it was. Wait. Let me see if I can find it because I read it not too long ago. That they were. You're going to hear a dog bark in a minute, maybe. Okay, there was a group. They had this Bernard Lazare. He criticized this position, arguing that Herzl and other delegates, Zionist Congress, this is the 1898, have sent their blessings to the worst of murderers. So they integrated into Zionism the worst murderers. And then this guy, Bernard Lazare, okay, but anyway, he's the one who was saying they did that. Did I do that? View on Wikipedia. I didn't click the button again. So it was this guy here. And he's and what I just read you, he just said that. To that, that they specifically took murderers to terrorize back, in 1898, 1881, to kill the Palestinians, the poor people, and to give the Rothschilds supplied all that money and from England, and they brought it from America to make it so, and the Jews couldn't resist, so they went there. So then their kids go to the yeshiva. They're like, okay, this is what they're teaching Judaism. We don't really know what they're teaching the kids. We go to CCD. We don't know what they're teaching the kids, the Catholics or the Protestants in Sunday school. You don't actually know unless you're a teacher, a Sunday school or CCD teacher, or one of these Zionist rabbis. And they're teaching them that they're superior and you got to kill other people. And not in those exact words that way. But that's what they taught them. And that's why you have all these psychopaths in Israel today, because they were raised all the way from the maps showing here when they started out like this until they got to this here. It's kind of sad, but it was a plan, and it started with Albert Pike. So if we were all the way back with the Albert Pikes, so we're going to read the Third World War now. So we were at that, right, with the Muslim nations and Zionism. Oh, the other thing I just wanted to mention, when they got the Albert Pike stuff, the Theodore Herschel guy, I have to go back one and share this tab. When Theodore Herschel got, from the devil, they got the Rothschilds. When they figured out, they looked at the population, like how in the Third World War are we going to fight when it was this, and there's only 20,000 Jews in all of Palestine, right? how are they going to fight? They'll lose, because the Third World War, according to Albert Pike, which we started reading here, was the political Zionist leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Well, that ain't going to work with 20,000 Jews. So that's where the idea came, to import all the Jews in the idea of giving them a Jewish state in Palestine. It's that simple. The Rothschilds and the banks of England, all of these Luciferian people, Zionists, decided to use the Jews as cannon fodder to make them get killed, each other, the Muslims and the Arabs. That's where we're headed. And that's why they're slow walking, killing the Palestinians. They need everybody to hate every Jew they see. They want them to kill each other off, right? So shall we unleash the nihilists and the atheists? So then they're going to, they're going to break our economy and our physical and moral, spiritual. We're going to be like God's not answering us. Like, what's going on here? All this killing, all this stuff going on. They got us chasing our shadows. We don't know what to believe. That's their goal. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists. So, what are those? What do they call those people? What are those people called? Anarchists, or whatever they call them. The ones that do all the riots and stuff, and the Black Lives Matter people. That's the division. These are the nihilists and the atheists. Okay, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly the nations the effect of absolute atheism, origin, savagery, and the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against this world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization and the multitude delusioned with Christianity. So here's where we're going to stop right there. So they're going to have us fighting with those groups, Antifa, that's what I was trying to think of, and then the atheists, and we're going to kill them all. We're make wars on the street. Just money's going to be broke, and illegal immigrants coming in. So there's a lot of things going on. And the reason that they support Islam a little bit more, because it takes a divinity. Christ is just a prophet in there, and he doesn't have any divinity in Islam. It's just, and the Jews they hate Christ. They say he's boiling in excrement in hell. The enemy is Christ. And if the Islamics don't want to believe that, I can't help them. But the enemy of this world today to the Satanists is Christ. They want to take the divinity of Christ out, which is why there's a war in Ukraine for Russia, because as the Eastern Rite Church and the Catholic Church is already compromised, but it's still intact. And they're attacking the Greek Orthodox Church, which is Catholic. The divinity of Christ is in the Eucharist. I don't know how to. They have apostolic succession from Peter. Okay, now you're going to be all those Protestants like, oh no, you're going to be bringing all this other stuff. Listen, so here I'm going to show you where the Protestants are. So the most bloody turmoil, then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the minority of revolutions, eliminate, destroy those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude disillusioned with Christianity and deistic spirits. This is Protestantism right here. The deistic spirits. You don't know what you're believing in exactly, because you lost the true faith. And I hate to say it that way, but man, if Christians do not get their act together, we cannot put an army together like we did with the Crusaders anymore. We're divided into 50,000 different sects, and they're destroying with Ukraine, and they're going after Greece now, the Coptic churches, the Greek Orthodox churches, the Eastern Rite churches and the Catholic Church. They're destroying it, and they're telling you that's the Antichrist. Oh my goodness! For 1,500 years, everybody was Catholic. Everybody was Catholic for 1,500 years after Christ. Why would you think a murderer and a Lutheran, a guy who just wanted to marry his nun and was a fornicator, and even though he found some errors in the Catholic Church, every church in every country, every Catholic church has people who are in error, or priests that are doing things wrong, and parishioners. There isn't a church in this country, I don't care what church you're in, that doesn't have evil people in it, in error in it. Okay, so these deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render their adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So you're going to get rid of the Vatican. They're going to get their plan, get rid of the Vatican and get rid of Washington, D.C., and put everything in London state, country, where they control the money there. And they will control the church there, the murderer Barabbas, King James, and all the Protestants will follow that, and that will lead them right to the doctrine of Lucifer, because they will take the divinity of Christ out, and it will be illegal to say Christ is the Son of God. So you want to, and the ones who go along with it, they will belong to the Church of, the Congregation of England. And the Muslims too will be destroyed, because that's the plan. So I kind of laid out everything. That's where they want to go. So I cannot make people believe. I didn't share the tab. Let me just do it again. The deistic spirits, that's Protestantism, will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal, but without knowing where to render its adoration. Will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in public view. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. So they want the Muslims to kill the Jews off each other, right? And they're there for cannon fodder. They gave them everything. And we're going to be fighting with the immigrants and the atheists here and the Muslims here in America and in Europe, the Western nations, until we destroy each other. And everyone's going to lose faith, because the ones who are not Catholic do not have the true faith. I'm sorry to say that. And it's not that you're not holy and you're not seeking Jesus. It's not that. It's the Reformation was the greatest victory of Satan, separating the Christians. We could never again stand up against him as a united faith. That was the accomplishment. We don't have that. We can't put together. We could do it. We don't have to change our faiths, literally, to join all Christians together to get rid of these crazy politicians we have. And like Bill Gates getting awards. I mean, can you think of an eviler guy than that? I mean, well, yeah, Netanyahu, definitely. And his son. I mean, you can see the devil inside them just looking at them. These people, listen, I don't know what to tell people outside of I'm telling you the truth. You can look this up. I kind of give you the puzzle piece. I told God I'm not a good narrator. I can't make videos well. That's not Tony. It's not me. Elijah Fine Water is my lay Carmelite name. I'm a Catholic. I was professed as a third order lay Carmelite in the Catholic Church in 1991. It's kind of equivalent, like right below a nun. I'm like allowed to be married and everything like that. But I've kind of fallen too from my faith a little bit. And I have a lot of health issues now and stuff. But I just came back. I just drove through a bolt of lightning, hit my car almost like, and I drove through the flash of light, and then my whole car shook like it was going to blow up. It's funny. I was on my way to adoration, and I said, God, I guess they don't want me to go to adoration today. So outside of I told you this story and it's 45 minutes long, I'm going to tell you a couple of stories of a miracle that have been in my life. I was hit by a car in 1963, November 1st, about 10 to 4 in the afternoon. The car hit me. I flew through the air. I landed on the ground. He ran over me and dragged me under the car until he finally stopped. I was ripped about a quarter of a way in half. I was dead in the road, and some doctor stopped and revived me. When the car hit me the second time, everything went black. But then it was like I was running. But I wasn't running. I was out of body. But like in the movie Ghost, kind of, the beginning where he gets shot and he kind of runs. And then he looks back, but I didn't look back. But I was trying to grab this mailbox on the corner, thinking I almost got by a car. And as I was trying to do that and not realize, because I was floating and I can't grab it, I can't grab anything, I see two shadow figures across the street. They're looking at me. And I noticed them. And then all of a sudden, a realization comes to me in a great fear. You're dead. No way you got hit by a car. I don't want to die. And as that came to me in that fear, I got pulled away to somewhere. And what I saw was a bright white light, big, bright white light with a lot of lights connected around it, smaller. But they were all speaking in the same voice, but the voice was coming from the big one in the center. And they were saying stuff to me, but I was an 8-year-old boy, and I was crying. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I promise I'll be good. No matter what they were saying to me, and I do not remember. I think they were kind of saying, it's like, stay here. And I was like, no, I don't want to die. I was like disagreeing with them. But when I say them, it's the voice. It was God in the middle. That's who I see. It was God in the middle. But they were all saying, I can't explain it. It's like they're all saying the same thing, but the voice is coming from God, if that makes any sense. And they're all connected. They're touching. And then finally, I remember what they said. They said, it's going to be really hard. The last thing they said to me. And I said, I don't care. I promise I'll be good. I promise. And so I tried my best to keep that promise. Believe me, I apologize every day to God that I did not. So anyway, that's my story of an NDE, if you want to call it that. But I was truly dead, and they couldn't believe I lived. Even the doctors, like after, they were like, I say it like for a whole year, they have to go for checkups. You couldn't believe I was walking and talking. In fact, you can't even see my scars. And so I'm going to stop sharing there, and we're going to put me up in here for a little bit. And so this is me. Like, my whole forehead was scarred off, and I forgot I'm still back. They got the timing of my audio, my video, and me laid back. So I don't match my mouth. I guess they want you to think I'm fake. So when my mother made a promise. She promised the Virgin Mary, but we weren't a religious family at all. We didn't go to church or anything, but that if I lived, that she would honor the Virgin Mary. And so she did. She bought a statue after I lived of the Virgin Mary and put it in front of the house. Just 2 days ago, she brought that statue to me because my father had passed away 2 years ago, and I got that statue, and she brought some roses. And it's funny because his head was broken off, and my father had glued it back on. She needs to be repainted now, but I have her out front, and she's over 50 years old, 55. I'm not going to be able to do the math. I was 8 and I'm 70, so It's 62 years old, and it's in front of my house, the statue of the Blessed Mother. And I've always had a devotion. And when I made my communion and confirmation, and I was a kid, I had no question about my faith. I didn't understand everything, but I would go to the church as a child sometimes and pray. I would go to confession on my own, not my parents telling me. I had a very kind of rough life. I'm not going to go into all of that. I was born a bastard child. My mother wasn't married to my father. And then she married my father, and he was abusive. And then she got away from him and married a different guy. She was never married in a church. And so I had a lot of beatings and stuff like that, like bad beatings and harsh treatment. But at any rate, I was still like that kind-hearted me. I had seen suffering, and when you suffer yourself and then you see it teaches you compassion. That's like we're watching the Palestinians. If your heart's not breaking, you're lacking compassion, So anyway, when I was a year before I was going to make my confirmation, I was in catechism class, the CCD, and on Sundays we would go to 9 o'clock mass. And I was in public school. My family, we were very, very poor, and they would put the public school kids in the front pews on the right side of the church, and then right behind us would be the Catholic kids would sit, the Catholic school kids behind the public school in the church on the right side, and they would have their school uniforms on. And that would be 9 o'clock mass would be the children's mass. And every time during the consecration, when they rang the bell, when Jesus became present, a girl would pass out back in the Catholic area. And this kept going on every single week. They would bring her to the back of the church, or the entrance, where would be the back of the church away from the altar, where you come into church, the front entrance. And there's a foyer area there, and they would bring her back there, and I could never see who the girl was. And I lived where I could sneak out the side door, sort of. They had a little side door. And me and my brother would go together. He's a year younger than me, and a year and a half younger. And we would go out the side door to go to our house. And they would always bring this girl. So one day I said to my brother, Mike, you go out that door, and I'm going to go. I want to see who this girl is. That every week during ding, she passes out. Like, what's going on here? I didn't know. She got sick, and that's how I knew it. And they brought her to the front of the church, the back of the church. And so as I walked out to the right lane, right before the Pieta statue was a little bench. And she was sitting on the bench, and she looked so sad. She had her head down, and I stopped, and I looked at her, and she looked up at me, and she had very sad eyes, like she was upset. And there was a man standing next to her, which was the usher, and he said, keep going. And I said, is she okay? He said, she's going to be fine, don't worry. And then I went on my way. So that girl was a year old ahead of me in CCD. She was making her confirmation in a few months. So a few months later, I get a phone call from a friend of mine. He says, Tony, you want to come hang out today? It was a weekend. And I said, sure. And I believe it was a Saturday. I think they did confirmations on Saturday then, but it could have been a Sunday. I don't remember what day of the week it was. So how I would go to my friend's house is, because I used to go out the side door, I would cut through the church parking lot, come around through the church alley, and around to the front of the church and down the steps, and go up the street. It's like a shortcut. I cut off a quarter of a block, cutting through the church parking lot and down the side of the church. And as I get to the steps, the Catholic school, all the kids the year ahead of us, it's their confirmation day. And they're all on the steps. And you're not allowed to take pictures in the church back then in 1967. I guess it was around 67. It's the Latin Mass. You're not allowed to take camera in the church. And they're all on the steps. It's 3 flights of steps, like down, cement steps. And I can't get through because I don't want to get in anyone's picture. So as a 12-year-old boy, I'm a little bit, frustrated. Like, how am I going to get down there and not get, because they're all over the steps taking pictures. You got to imagine a whole confirmation class, just came out, and they're all over the steps. It's like 100 kids, I don't know, and people are taking pictures everywhere and by outside the church. So finally, I see an opening right down the wall to the left of me, where I'm standing. So I start going down the steps. I get down 2 flights of steps, and don't you think, a girl jumps out in front of me, and a guy's taking her picture. So me being a little 12-year-old boy and being very impatient that day, I said, you know what I'm going to do? Because I'm tired of waiting. I'm waiting a few minutes already. And for a few minutes for a little boy is a long time. And I said, I'm going to stick my head right over her shoulder when he's snapping the picture. I'm going to photobomb her before they invented photobombing. And I photobombed this girl. And then I went up the street and I laughed to myself. And I said, when they get home and see that picture, they're going to be wondering, who's that kid in the picture? I had my head like right over her shoulder, like literally. And I thought it was funny. I'm sorry, I'm a kid. So then, about a year or so later, after I made my confirmation, I was in 8th grade, then I was in 9th grade, and I was 14 years old. And my friend, I was in freshman year of high school, and my friend asked me to go to hang out by this girl's house he liked, and her girlfriend was going to be there. Do I want to come with him? My friend Ronnie, he committed suicide now. But anyway, I said, yeah, Ronnie, I'll go with you. It was a Saturday. So we went, and it's my wife today, but that's who he liked. And I was talking to the girlfriend and whatever, and 14-year-olds were playing music. They're having a little, I don't know how to say, like a makeout session, not, kissing a little bit, whatever. And my wife kept coming over by me instead of, we were like kind of separated a little bit. And so I said, what? Do you want to switch? And we switched like kissing partners, like little kid stuff. And but I started dating her, and we're married 50 years, August 30th, just last week. We have 4 children, but here's a funny story about that whole thing. The girl that passed out, that's Judy in the church that I prayed for. Well, when I saw her, I prayed for her, and I actually said to God, she's not bad looking, and even though I was only 12. Boys. But I said a prayer for her, when it was the girl, when I went out to see the girl that passed out. And then when I photobombed, Judy had an uncle who passed away in the 1990s. And he had one daughter, and he's an avid photographer. He was in the Battle of the Bulge, actually, too. He was a really nice man, though. And he had passed away. And he lived down in Florida, and his daughter sent up a bunch of pictures of Judy, and they were 35 millimeter slides. They don't make them anymore, like 35 millimeter cameras. But I was an avid photographer too. So I had a slide projector. So I thought it would be nice for my children. I only had we just had another baby, but we have 4, but we just haven't the last 2 were babies. But it would be nice for them to see their mother when she was young. So I started with my slide projector, and you have the automatic turns the wheel, and, have the screen up, and we're looking, and there's and then she's explaining the pictures, and then we come across her confirmation pictures. So I'm clicking through the things. It's a little boring, click, click, click. All of a sudden I'm like, yeah, oh, there's me and your mother, and I click past it, and I stop. What? I didn't know her then. I turned back the wheel, and I'm looking. That's me with my head right over her shoulder. Then the memory comes back to me. The person I photobombed is the girl I married. The girl who was passing out that I prayed for is the girl I married. And we were married 50 years, and we started dating when I was 14. So that actually makes us another 6 years, because the guy we got married at 20, and I was 20. She's 2 years older than me, actually. She looks a lot younger than me, though, which is kind of funny. But that's a miracle story. So in that, even I threw my mother, brought the statue here. I been asking God about a healing for me, and I get some what you call messages, private revelation. And that's what urged me to give this video. This isn't a premonition. It's a premonition to make this video about what I talked about earlier. There's no, there's the out is for Fatima, secret of Fatima. Third secret of Fatima is the out. Christians have to unite, and they don't have to become, I'm going to say they don't have to become Catholic. This is Tony talking, but we have to unite as Christians and stop with all of the, we believe this and you believe that. Listen, there's a problem with the King James Bible. Just look at the history, because all the Protestant faiths use that. Just put that aside. Jesus is the Son of God. He's the King. Jesus is King. Just, we need to keep together or they will kill us all if we're divided. So anyway, I'm going to just go back to some little stories about, I've been asking for a healing. I have something's wrong. And, I'm one of those people getting nervous. I've been having sciatica thing for 6 months. I can't walk. They say it's sciatica, but my feet are starting to swell, and I'm having a lot of, my heart rate is kind of spinning around, and it's doctor, and they all, it's like they don't even want to hear you. They just want to give you some prescription and send you out of the office, and the co-pays and everything are killing me. I had a big battle with the state. I reported corruption. That wasn't a mistake. I lost, and they took everything from me and tried to set me up for jail and put a lien on me that's not valid. It's a long story that we don't have to talk about. Talk about miracles. So I've been praying to God. I said, God, show me a butterfly. I'm going to take this whole thing. Will it let me take it? It won't let me. I wonder if I minimize. No, then I can't share that screen. How am I going to do that? I want to show you what's on my screen. I don't know how to do that. Wait a minute. Okay, let's do it like, if I take present, it's going to be hard to see because I have some. Okay, share screen. It's going to share both screens when I do that. I don't want to share Hig Rock. I want to share, select tab, entire screen, a window. I want to show, it's not going to show it. Entire screen. Screen 2. Screen 1. Okay. On screen 1, I'm sharing. It should come up. These are my icons. So you see the hummingbird? I asked God to show me a hummingbird. So I was sitting out in the yard and praying. I know I'm supposed to ask for a sign, but I need some confirmations. I need a confirmation about, are the private revelations real? So show me either like a butterfly or show me a hummingbird. So I thought, I didn't see nothing. It was actually at night. I was praying my rosary in the yard. I didn't see anything. It was not dark out. It was about 4 o'clock. I wanted to see. He said, show me a butterfly or have a bird come close to me, or show me a hummingbird. These are the things I was saying. I'm such a nutcase, right? And so this is what I'm going to tell you. The next day, I see 2 butterflies out in the front during the day, like right on my front lawn. But they're like moth butterflies. But I said I'd even settle for a moth butterfly. But okay, because I haven't seen hardly any butterflies at all. I think they killed them all with the chemtrails. So I see the 2 butterflies, but I take it into, maybe God, showed me the 2 butterflies, Then later on, the next day, which was that today? Last night I looked at my screen. Yesterday I thought I saw a bird go down the street but it went really fast, and I thought it was a hummingbird because we have them in this area, but I hardly ever see one. But it was going so fast, but they fly a little funny, you know. I wasn't sure if that was the hummingbird, but I said, well, maybe that was a hummingbird or not, but God did show me the bird. I come in and I look at my screen. You know, I have that, it changes automatically by itself, my screen, you know, and there's a hummingbird on my screen. I'm like, no way, this can't be. This morning I get up and I come out here, because that was yesterday, that was last night. This morning I get out here and I come up here, and do you see these two doors behind me? I don't know if you can see them. If I can get rid of this, how do I get that out of there? I just go to here, and I got, yeah. See these doors behind me? There's a porch there. It's a closed-in porch. It has a couple of gaps in it somewhere. Guess what? A bird came in there today and was sitting there looking at me. I asked for a bird to come close to me. Oh, well. And then I had a friend come over and we were working on a car. And, stop sharing my screen. And I'm sorry. And I remember I asked for a butterfly. A black butterfly comes flying over to me, which I've never seen a black butterfly around here. I've seen like the monarchs mostly. And it kind of flew near my car and looked at me, like kind of fluttered in one spot for a second, like looking at me, then turned around and went back like into the woods. And I'm like, wait a minute. Now there's the butterfly I asked for. So I asked for a butterfly. I asked for the hummingbird. And I asked for a bird to come close to me. I don't know. Did God give me the signs that I asked for? Or am I just dense and head and crazy? So I'm like, so I went for adoration tonight, and I got like almost hit by a bolt of lightning, and I went through the ball of light, like with my car, and the whole car shook. Like when the bang came, like, oh, my whole car shook. I'm sorry that the timing, they're messing with my streams, and they don't want me to do streams, and so that's I wanted to tell you about. There are other miracles that happened to me. So I went to an apparition site in 1990 of a fellow in Marlborough, New Jersey, who said the Virgin Mary was appearing to him after he had come back from a vacation in Medjugorje. And I had I didn't see the Virgin Mary, but I had a couple of strange encounters there. There was a rose that bent down into his hand that was on TV. It was recorded on Boston television. They didn't show it in New Jersey. And he broke it off and he gave it to his wife, to a woman. And then later on, I found out that I met the husband of the woman. She had cancer and was dying. And the Virgin Mary told him to take this rose and give it to that woman. And he said, which rose? And she shook it. And then he looked, and then she bent it over into his hand. He snapped it off and he said, which woman? And she led him to that woman. And she passed away a few months later, but the rose never wilted, and her husband buried the rose with her. But I ran into him and I saw the video. So it's kind of hard that I was there. Was the first Sunday of every month at 9:25, and I wasn't going to church at all at this time. And but every first Sunday of the month, and I was there at exactly like 9:20. Showed up because he had to walk 2 miles to get there from where we went in Marlborough, New Jersey, and I went different routes, and I still wound up there at the same time. But the first night I went there on an apparition night, when I found out when the apparitions were, and because I want to make the story a little shorter, but I asked God, can you give me a pair of rosary beads to show me if this is true? Because I didn't even have rosary beads. So after the event, I'm calling it an event, after the apparition, we walked back the 2 miles. We had to park in this parking lot of a shopping center. So some people were, and I got probably a little group of people. I didn't know any of them. And we were talking. And the guy straight across from me, I don't remember his name now because it was 1990, 91. It's like, Tony, you dropped your rosary beads, and right between my feet are a pair of rosary beads. And I'm like, how can that be? They're not mine. But then Another guy scooped them up and he was looking at them. But I asked for a pair of rosary beads. Now, I would have never walked and stepped on them. I would have seen them walking up to there. How did they get between my feet? So I was like, but the other guy grabbed them. So I'm like, oh, I missed out. But maybe the Virgin Mary, maybe God gave me the rosary bead. So, about a year later, my son was born in 1991. And my one son, my second son, but my third child. And he got the MMR shot. And then he, about a week later, he started having grand mal seizures. And then we had to put him on medication. So I brought him to the apparition. And then also, though, I brought him, because I was going every first Sunday of the month, to a healing mass in Howell, where an Irish priest came that was a healer. I don't remember his name. But as we went there, it was so crowded. And we were way in the back. Like we were outside. We actually weren't even in the church for the service. But we went up, and I brought him for the healing. And, the priest blessed him for healing for the seizures. He was on medication. He was doing well on the medication. He was maybe he was on having the seizures probably a couple of years. So this is a couple of years in. He's like 3-4 years old now. Well, he's maybe 3. I'm holding him in my arms. So I'm the kind of guy, that church was so crowded and that we had to wait online to get the blessing and everything, that I stayed in the church and off on the right side against the wall, waiting for the church to empty out, in the parking lot to empty out. So they didn't have a lot of traffic. But I asked for a pair of rosary beads again, because I said I messed up with the first ones. So if you could give me another set of rosary beads, God, then I'll know the healing thing has worked for my son, and thank you. And so I'm standing there holding my son in my arms, and a guy comes from across the church. He's on the left side, comes all the way over to me, stops in front of me, hands me a pair of rosary beads. He says, here, I got these in Medjugorje. Again, Medjugorje. And they're made from coffee beans from the area. And he handed them right to me. I got a pair of rosary beads. Again, God answers my prayer. Exactly. Gives me a pair of rosary beads. Twice. The first time I messed it up. Then I got the rosary beads. I'm like, this is wild. So now, as I was going to these apparitions on the first Sunday of the month, I'm having this strong desire to learn about Carmel. A Carmelite, the Carmel, the brown scapular, that Catholics wear. Can you see it? I don't know, because the film is so bad, slow. I never take it off, only to shower. And I say a prayer before I take it off. And it has some promises to it. It's just a sacramental, and it's not magical or anything like that, but it shows your faith. And it's hidden. See, you don't see it on me. I hate this that days. I'm like 4 or 5 seconds behind my talking. So I'm learning about Carmel. I'm reading books. I went to a religious store, and a woman who was running the religious store is an ex-nun. When they turned to Vatican II, a lot of the clergy left the Catholic faith. As they didn't leave the faith, they left as being nuns or priests and just became lay, because the Vatican II has got some error in its mass. The Eastern Rite Mass in Russia is actually the most correct mass for Catholics, and the Greek Orthodox Mass. It's more correct than the Roman Catholic Mass. The Roman Catholics are infiltrated, but it's still there. The institution is still there. But there's infiltration of Freemasonry, which is Luciferian, at the highest levels. And they've lost control of it through the Rothschild money system, which is the same thing that's happening to all the churches in the world, and even Islam. How do you think those radical nutcases get in charge of countries and stuff? They grab the most craziest lunatic and make him rich, and he'll do whatever they say to keep everything. In any organization or any country, people they can control or blackmail. And as we go into the Epstein thing. And so listen, the chemtrailing, that's poisoning the people. Those particles they're spraying are harmful to the human body and to the trees and nature and the animals. We know that. President Trump's job is to protect us. I'm just sticking this in there. And all he has to do is send up fighter jets and say, get out of the sky. Anybody who sends up and sprays in the sky, you're out of here. I'll shoot you down. And you'll end it in one day. But he won't do that because he's part of it. You understand? He likes money and egotistical stuff. He likes to tell people what to do and be able to control them. That's just the kind of man he is. He wants to be king, pharaoh of the world. And then he's asking, am I going to get to heaven? I can't answer that question, but from what I see, dude, you're in the wrong direction. You're not helping the people. You're helping them murder people. I don't know what you're thinking, but okay, you got power. Yeah, they gave it to you and they gave you money, paper money, Rothschild, assets, hotels. Oh, yeah, I'm going to build hotels in Gaza. Let me go back to the miracles. I'll get off on a real bad tangent. So here we have me asking for miracles, right? So I'm having this Carmelite thing. So this woman, she's an ex-nun, and I'm getting books on Carmel. I get the brown scapular. I'm enrolled because back in those days when I made my confirmation, my communion and confirmation, they enrolled you in the brown scapular, and so you're allowed to just wear one. It doesn't have to be blessed. In other words, like you're in the order. No, but now I'm actually a Carmelite, a lay Carmelite. I'm a professed lay Carmelite. I didn't make a vow. A vow is like your wedding vow, that you can never break. So the promise you're not supposed to break. But so I'm kind of inactive because I moved so many times. I'm not in a Carmelite community anymore. Because I'm too far away from where my Carmelite community was. But that's because the state took everything away from me and made me homeless and tried to kill me 3 times about reporting the corruption and how they launder billions of dollars through the mafia. And that was another state. That was in the 90s. That's when this was happening. So I'm getting threatened by mob guys. I'm getting blown up in my van, all kinds of stuff. And I didn't get burnt. Firebomb in my van, and I jumped out. Not one burn mark on me anywhere, which is kind of odd. But it wasn't like it exploded the van apart like you see in the movies. It was like a big fireball inside the van, like all around me, but I just jumped right out. But anyway, back then, that's not important. That's evil coming after you all the time. They do that. And so I'm talking to this ex-nun lady who's a sweet woman, Angela, very sweet woman. And I say to her, but I'm not understanding what's going on with me because I'm not a religious person, but I can't stop going to these apparitions in Marlborough. And one night I was there because it was at 9:25 at night. And I feel like a woman over my shoulder here with a really strong rosy perfume on as we're praying the rosary, because that's what they do at apparitions, is they pray the rosary. And I'm going, boy, this woman has a strong perfume on. But I don't want to turn around till we finish the decade, which is 10 Hail Marys, and that's a decade. And it's in a big yard. The guy has like a football field yard almost. And I turn around, and guess what? There's not a person within 20 or 30 feet of me. And I have the strongest smell of perfume and roses. And I thought that was unusual, and that I was getting there at the exact same time, no matter which route I took. And I never forgot to go. I always remembered when it was the first Sunday of the month. And I was there at the exact same time. And we're talking like over a year, a couple of years. So finally, I said to this ex-nun, do you know a priest I can talk to about this? So she thinks for a minute, and she goes, you can talk to Father Valente, who he makes videos. So he belongs to a parish and was in a resort area, but he made religious videos, but they don't make videos anymore, but that's what he did. He spoke and made religious videos. And so I just went down there and I walked into his little office. And I said, can I talk to you, Father Valente? And I told him, Angela referred me. He said, yeah, I said, I'm having trouble. I don't understand what's going on with me. I have the desire about Carmelites and about going to the apparitions. Are these real or whatever? Because I'm always the questioner, you know. I'm always these people tell you, oh, the devil can get in and trick you, you know. So, you know, he pulls out off he's got his brown scapulars on, he's wearing them. And he's like, no, I'm, you know, brown scapular. I wear the brown scapular. And I believe, he says, I can't tell you because he's a priest or under like sworn oath not to say things about the apparition in Marlborough. They have a priest who's a spiritual director for Joe, the guy who's having the apparitions the Virgin Mary's appearing to. So this is just kind of so funny. So that priest, Father Rooney, passed away about a month before I'm seeing Father Valente. So I could never see the closest priest to Joe because he just passed away recently. So who is Father Valente? He's Father Rooney's spiritual director. So there would not be a priest that I could ask about the apparitions in Marlborough, if they were real or not, than Father Valente, because he was Father Rooney's spiritual director. So you know they talked about that specifically. And because it was kind of a big deal going on. So the apparitions, I believe, are real. They converted me. I did my confession with him, which was like the first one since I was like 13. And I went back to Mass because I was comfortable going back to Mass after I did confession. And on the second week I go to Mass, they're starting a lay Carmelite community in that parish. I'm like, Scampy. I'm looking about, because I'm thinking about Carmel and learning about the Carmelite saints and everything about Carmelite spirituality. And so there it is. So that's how I became a lay Carmelite. I was supposed to be professed on my birthday, but one of the other people being professed says, oh, they had something to do that day, so they changed it off the date, which was a little disappointing to me. It would have been nice to be professed on my birthday, but my wife joined. She started going to church. I became a CCD teacher, taught confirmation. The students loved me. I didn't know how, because I wasn't a very religious person, but I was learning and I was reading so much, and I started becoming a daily masser almost, like for a little while, trying, like just everything was revolving around church for years. And then I got the mob guys trying to kill me, and the state sent them after me. Yeah, the mob, the state, the government, the FBI, they're all the same club. I don't think people realize that. You have to kind of go through it to know. So, you know, they made me lose over everything I worked for is like $1 million worth of stuff, like house and business. And, but in business, you know, they sold contracts that were like $40 million from me. So they were more, actually, probably closer to 100 million, but I don't want to sound like, you know, a big shot or something. But I used to do Christmas decorating, and I did that for God, but I started that business before all of this happened. But the mob guys in New Jersey, they launder money through those companies. Like they'll pay a town, they'll say, oh, we got one. You know, they have 50 snowflakes hanging on the poles, but they write a bill for like 200 snowflakes and charge them like $900 a piece, where they're only like 200, like what I was charging. And then that extra money, I'm threatening. I can give you an example because it's in the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office. I made a complaint there. I made them a proposal for $40,000 for Trenton is the capital of New Jersey, and they were a big celebration. So things going across the street and everything, and for them to own them. So it wasn't like a rental or anything. But I didn't get the bid. They funneled the money out, and they gave it to the mayor of Little Italy in New York, who was a made mob guy, who's the guy Giuliani indicted for the San Gennaro feast. They gave him it. I had bid $40,000. They paid him on a 3-year contract. The first year, $80,000, and the second and third year, $150,000 a year. And they stole my designs, my Christmas layout, and yeah, that's what they do. And so that extra money, he doesn't get to keep it all. He gets to keep like half of the extra money. So if $40,000 was the price, like it's the base price, that's what it really is. So he's an extra 40, so it's 20 he has to give away to whoever they tell him, and it's usually an NGO because it's tax deductible, and then he gets to keep 20. So when it goes to 150, because now I'm out of the picture completely, and they don't have to worry, right? So when it goes to 150,000, it's already paid for from the year before. It's just the installation cost. So it's only costing them like 10,000 to put it up. So now they have $140,000 to split in half. So then the money goes to the mob guys, and they take half of the 150,000 less the 10,000, so 140, $70,000, and they donate it to whoever they tell them to donate it to. Black Lives Matter. I'm just making up things. That's how it works. And then the FBI covers that all up in case you report it. They bury. So if you put my name in, they'll tell you either I'm a nut. If I give you the complaint numbers, they'll tell you they don't exist or whatever. They'll lie about it. They tried to kill me like 3 or 4 times, and I have a little angel following me, and I don't know how long that's going to last. I guess I'm 70, but he came me through those years, but they took everything from me. I had to lose everything, my house, my business, became homeless, was on the street with my kids. They were in high school. This is how cruel this state is. And the FBI and the Ocean County prosecutors, the state AG's office, the state police public corruptions department, no newspaper would take the story. Nobody. And they're still doing it to this day. They're stealing billions of dollars every year out of New Jersey. It's not just Christmas lights. That's just one. I know how they do it exactly. I have the documentation. Anyway, let's go back to miracles that happened to me. So now, all of this, I'm out of the Christmas business, and I'm trying so hard. I got to take care of my family. I get a place to rent. I get a job. I work for the fucking Census Bureau. I'm sorry for swearing. And I worked for a contractor that got to give out like these energy efficient light bulbs for New Jersey Clean Energy, where they drop you off with 2 green sacks on your back and a green T-shirt on, and like a green Santa Claus, and you give them people knocking on doors, giving them free light bulbs that are fluorescent curly light bulbs. You got to walk about 15 miles a day, like a green Santa Claus, walking around giving out light bulbs. And they had unemployment money. I started selling cars. I used to decorate in the summer because I did Christmas lighting. I did flag and banner work for car dealerships. And so I started hustling cars. I had some friends in that business. And I was building up a business, but I didn't have any cash. I was trying to build up some assets. They took everything away from me. They actually stopped me from, I had a closing to, refinance my house. I owned like 3/4 of it, and more than probably that. They wouldn't let me refinance it because they took all my accounts away, all my money. I lost like $1 million, like my business and everything's gone. It's $500,000 in displays I owned. I'm done talking about my customers. I went from 66 towns. It took them to 2007. After I lost my house, I still tried to stay in business, down to 6 or 7 customers. They don't leave you alone. They never stop. And even after you go out of business, they don't stop because you're trying to get the money, you're complaining about it. Yeah, they still come after you. And so in the car business, they came after me and did a sales tax thing. But anyway, we're into 2015, 2016. By the time I have a car lot going, and I've always had like kind of premonitions. Like, I don't know. I know sometimes I just know. I don't know how it happens. I can't explain it. I can't make it happen. But sometimes stuff comes to me. Sometimes it's about people. But in 2015 and 2016, with President Trump running, I started getting worldly event things happening to me. So I'm talking to my friend, a close friend of mine, who's not a religious guy at all, and I'm telling him stuff that I know, like I think is going to happen. And it started happening all the time. So I say to him, and I'm kind of concerned because he's a close friend. And I say, I don't know if these like are real, like from God. Like, how am I knowing this stuff? I could not possibly know some of the things that are happening. Like walk past somebody and ask them, what happened with you with guns? And she's like, what, did you look at me up? She was arrested for a gun charge and an armed robbery at one time. How did I know that? I don't know. Or a woman was walking out the door. I used to help a lot of homeless people at my one lot in I used to let them use my bathroom and stuff. And she was walking out the door, and I stopped because I was walking past her, and I said, were you holding a dead baby one time? She said, who have you been talking to? Who telling you? Like, and I said, oh no, you know what? Because I'm stupid, I blurted out. And I'm not going to tell you about the guy who murdered somebody. But these things are that's what used to happen to me. But now I'm getting worldly events, like stuff that's going on with Trump, who's going to win the election. And also you're going to see, like, in the future, after Trump's going to get killed, like they already got planned to get rid of him and put J.D. Vance in, and the vice president. I would look to General Flynn. Just saying right now. And things change, When you see future, it changes. Let me explain this. When you see a future event, it's like this. If I'm standing on the street corner with you, and you're next to me, and I don't know you, and you start stepping out, and I see a car is coming, and I put my arm out, and I push you back, I just changed the future. You didn't get hit by the car. That's not premonition. But this premonition works the same way. So if I tell you something that's going to happen, it's maybe going to happen or maybe not. It's maybe put out there for it to stop it from happening. Okay? So if we want to mitigate World War III, all the bishops of the world, that includes the Eastern Rite churches, have to consecrate the Immaculate Heart of Mary to Russia, and all Christians have to accept that, really. That's a uniting thing. Then because the Eastern Rite's an intact faith with the Catholics, and if you unite everybody, there you have your crusaders. So I skip around a bit. I told God I'm not a good narrator. So my friend, his name is Steve. Doesn't matter, you won't know who that is. And I say, I don't know about these things, about what's going on in the world. Like even a guy who had a show called In the Matrix on YouTube. I won't mention his name except for his show was named In the Matrix. I was giving him some things. I don't think he liked it because a lot of it predictions go against what you believe. Like things I'm telling you, a lot of you's like, I don't believe that stuff he just said. The General Flynn, Trump's going to die. Yeah, 2 weeks before they reported Trump getting sick, or a week. I have videos with the dates on them. I said that they poisoned Trump, but it's not a fast kill. It's like they can enact it whenever they want, but it's a month or so, a couple months. When they want to do it, he's gonna have a heart attack. That's what I said in the video. And then like a week later, he's got like, what is that? Thing in my veins in his leg or whatever. I don't know. So that's another lucky guess out of 1,000 things. I'm guessing all around time, right? Yeah, so you can look to that. Maybe that's a little gift from God. I don't know. It might not happen. They might change things. Because I saw that Trump needs to change to stop that. So that's why I put it out there. I think maybe because, I'm on the FBI watch list and they listen. That's why my video is not working right. Because, I'm flinging my hand and talking. My lips aren't matching. You can tell. I can count 1, 2. No, I'm only 2 seconds. It got better. So my friend Steve, I say, hey, Steve, what do you think about this? Because I'm telling him things and he's like amazed that everything's happening. He says, Tony, maybe God has a plan for you. I'm an idiot. God have a plan for me. I'm not a holy person, like I pray all the time. But I'm always talking to God, but I'm not a holy person. I'm like a regular guy. I'm an idiot, basically. I'm a sinner. I fight with my wife. I'm an idiot. I was a car salesman, but I never ripped anybody off. But, that's what I was doing. So anyway, I think about that a couple of days. And then I had a Catholic page on Facebook, a prayer page and kind of Catholic information. I was getting 1 million post views a day and I had 600,000 followers. And I would stay at my car dealership at night a bit till 10, 11 o'clock at night, and I would work on that page. Just posting stuff and information, not really writing my own stuff, like kind of sharing and posting, but I had 600,000 followers. Facebook took the page away, though, anyway, and they wouldn't give it back. And I went all the way to New York City, which is a 2-hour drive for me, to their headquarters to get it back with my ID. And he said, "You'll have it back in 2 hours. It's so good of you to bring your ID and all of that, and proof that it was your page." Yeah. Did I ever get it back? No. They don't want, they hate Christians. So of all the faiths in the world, if you can't see it, Jews are claiming people are after Jews. No. Everybody's after Christians. Jews are after Christians. Zionist Jews. Everybody's after Christians. The Muslims are after Christians. Everybody's after the Christians. The devil hates the Christians. So if you're attacking the Christians, your faith is from the devil. It's that simple in the world. Can't see it? It's obvious to see. It's not hard to see. Who's getting killed? The Christians. The Jews are killing the Muslims, but that's on purpose. That's to turn everybody against, have sympathy for the Jews, have sympathy for the Muslims. That's the division, which I talked about way in the beginning of this video with Albert Pike, and going back to the history a bit of Theodore Herzl. And they don't show you in the internet his relationship with the Rothschilds, or where you think he got the money from to do all of those things, and the people that backed him, and that they hired the worst murderers in the world to start trouble terrorist attacks down in Palestine. You know, we go back in the 1890s, 1998, early 1900s. They hired terrorist organizations, people, and made to kill Palestinians and steal their land. They're doing it back then. Listen, it's all that they're evil. The Zionist Jews are evil, not the Jews who just do Torah, and not all the Islamics, the ones who do not follow that, chop the head off, and everyone has to convert to Islam, and we have to take over the countries that they're putting on the news now, like, oh, we're going to overpopulate you and everything. Yeah, because the Christians are not sticking together. They're divided by King Henry the murderer, Barabbas, and his King James Version Bible, and the false faith that they put out there to take everyone away from the Catholic faith. You don't have to believe what I'm saying. I know most of you won't, because you've got all kinds of reasons in your head. Just like the Zionists. Remember, they brought them to Israel, gave them free housing and everything, and they taught them Zionism, kill the Christian. Jesus is in hell and in excrement. You know, you have to steal from the Christian. They're going to be your slave. You're going to get 2,800 slaves each. You have to kill them babies because they'll grow up to be enemies. Talmudic teaching. Is that similar to Islam? Yes. The radical Islam? Yes. What is Christian teaching? Turn the other cheek. Love your neighbor as Jesus has loved you. So what's the correct religion from God? Kill everybody and make them your slave and take their stuff, or in their land and control them, or love everyone? Which is the correct one? Which one's from God? You don't have to think real hard about it, do you? Unless you're a murdering psychotic person. But so in the same way, the splitting of the church, the Protestants had split everyone off from the Catholic faith and made a whole new religion. Took all of the divinity of Christ, the Eucharist specifically, out of the religion. There goes my wife of 50 years. She's going to have a cigarette. We both smoked still too, since we were kids. So my friend Steve tells me that. So I'm sitting there at my Catholic page and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm going to ask God for a sign. I'm supposed to do that. Oh, and a lot of times when I'd be out in my yard praying, I get these white flashing lights going by me, like little balls of light, like a little meteor, a little higher up in the air. A couple of times one blew close and I popped my ears, like they pop. And one popped over my head one time, like one of the last ones I don't see them anymore. Probably been 4 years since I've seen them. But they used to pop around me all the time. So I used to call them meteors, but I kind of thought maybe they were angels or something, but they look like little white balls of meteor, like a little meteor. Streak across the sky, come down, kind of low, like, I don't know, a little higher than the trees and sometimes lower. One time my daughter asked me out in the front, I was praying a little bit in the front, and I was talking to her, and the lights were flashing around, and she's like, "What are those lights?" Like I just like won't say anything about it. What am I gonna say? That just happens. I don't know what they are. And so anyway, so I'm sitting at my desk thinking, I'm gonna ask for a sign. I said, God, listen, if this is real, show me a meteor. But then I thought, wait a minute, I see those lights all the time. I gotta make it different. God, show me a big red meteor. So I go outside into my car lot. It's like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I'm praying, and I'm looking up in the sky. And I'm praying, and I'm praying. I don't see nothing. A sense of relief comes through because my friend Steve had said maybe God has a plan for you, And so I'm thinking I'm not worthy of I'm nobody. So I walk back, and I got like this sense of relief, like it's not from God, it's just my imagination, maybe intuitive, or maybe I heard it somewhere else, or I'm not remembering. I don't know, but I do have a kind of a very high analytical thinking and abstract reasoning scores, pretty high, but my education level is not really high, as you can tell by the way I speak. So I go back in my office, feeling relieved, and sit down. As soon as I sit at my desk, I don't even get to look at the screen. It pops in my head. You didn't wait long enough, Tony. You didn't wait long enough. I'm like, okay, God. I get up, and I have a 20-foot office, and the door is 20 feet away. I walk across the office. I open the door. I take 2 steps out, and I look up. A giant red meteor goes by. Right in front of my face, like up in the sky. I'm in like at my exact, and I'm by myself, and I'm saying, no way, that did not just happen. No way did that just happen. No way, no. It can't be. How? It's really from God. God is real. Yeah, God is real. You don't believe my story, it doesn't matter to me. I have witnesses on some of the miracles, and my son got healed, by the way, of his seizures, and he's a computer tech now. So a good-looking kid. He's a big kid. He's very kind-hearted. He's both of my sons. God blessed me with 4 beautiful children. My youngest daughter married a Lutheran, a very religious Lutheran, whose parents were very, and he had an uncle who's a Lutheran minister, so very religious. And my daughter actually converted to be a Lutheran, which I wasn't really. I'm a Catholic, and I don't, it's the Lutheran faith, but okay. And it's still Christian and everything. And but her husband, he's a very smart guy, and he would ask me a couple of questions. He's very, he's a computer analyst, and so those guys are kind of, he's analyzing things and stuff. And so he's a nice guy, really wonderful guy. They have 2 children and 1 on the way. So beautiful. It's so, I can't tell you how happy that makes me, but it does. I love my children to death. So, and my grandchildren, oh my goodness. And when they're that little age, because my youngest one, they're little, and yeah, she has a 3-year-old, a 1.5, and 1 in the belly. And anyway, her husband asking me questions, and about this typical about purgatory and about praying to the saints and the Virgin Mary, and I have kind of a way of explaining that simplistically, and but he looked stuff up. He don't like take my word. He converted to Catholicism is the end of the story anyway. So now they're both Catholic again. My wife, my daughter's Catholic, and they go to mass every single Sunday, and they're raising their kids. In fact, there's a video I have. You know what? I'll show you my granddaughter praying. She's 3 years old here. Wait, just give me 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. I just got to go to my content and find it real quick. It'll take me a second because I uploaded it to Rumble. Wait. Let me come on. Where are you? Here she is. Okay, so I'm going to play her here, but I got to share the page. Give me a second. Share screen. Lord's Prayer. This is Emily. I love this.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, and will be done, as earth is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. We ask not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Good job.
Oh, I think that is so wonderful. I'm sorry. I just, she's so cute. Her brother Jacob's cuter, which is another thing. God told me that she was going to have a boy named Jacob. But I was wrong about. I thought the next one might be a boy named Brian, but she's having a girl. So it's not Brian. So not everything. Things change. That's what I say. People don't understand that. You judge a prophet, if you want to call somebody a prophet or somebody who gets messages from God. I just say, because I never had God tell me I'm a messenger, a prophet or anything. So I just say, well, I just give it a message he gave me. You know, I don't have church approval. I tried to talk to a couple of priests about it. They don't want to talk about that stuff. Not to me, not here. And kind of right now, I go to church and keep to myself. And I like to go to adoration a lot. Because I can spend time with Jesus by myself there. But anyway, so I don't know. Does that mean God had a mission for me? Because I asked him and the red meteor came. And now I've made a lot of videos about predictions of the future on my Rumble with Tony channel. YouTube takes a few of them down, but I have a YouTube channel too. I mostly do lives. I never script things. I just say what comes to my mind. I don't have any guests ever. No one listens to anything I say. I'm censored. I have videos up for 4 years that have 10 views. I mean, even if they're not about this kind of stuff. I mean, I made videos of me singing, and I am not a good singer. But I thought I would at least get a few hundred people might say, like, dude, stop singing, you suck. I didn't get even that. You know, I got like 10 views, 4 views. That's impossible. I'm definitely censored. I had people following me around, FBI, or somebody's following me or was following me. I know for a fact, but they don't follow me anymore. But they were doing it for about 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months ago. Every time so I'm not going to explain it, you know, but guys that pick up trucks. I don't know who they were. And a woman one time filming me in my car. But that was because I was pushing on the evidence. I still, you know, I just don't think it's right that, I mean, they took everything away from me and I don't care. I'm fine with nothing. But the problem is that they're still doing it and robbing the taxpayer money and doing the corruption. So every now and then I kind of put a little email out or whatever. Or I have a video on there if you want to look on my Rumble channel. Municipalities, SID municipal corruption or some stuff like that. It's about 3 or 4 years old, the video. It's actually older than that. I brought it to Rumble because I started with YouTube, but then they kept crashing me down. So anyway, I don't think I have anything else to tell you except for the out for us to get out of this mess so that it's like we're not totally destroyed is to Have the Immaculate Heart of Mary consecrated to Russia with all the bishops in apostolic succession, bishops that will have the real lineage to Russia, and for all, which really just means all the Christians to unite so we can have crusaders. You know, this is kind of weird the way my jacket's looking behind me. I think that's a little scary looking. It's kind of freaking me out. Is there something behind me? They're really playing with the screen here. Doesn't it look like somebody, like there's a demon or something behind me? There's nothing behind me, but they do that. They're doing it on Streamyard or the FBI, whoever it is that is. Because I'm calling them out. They don't like they certainly don't like when you call them out. I want to God bless everyone, and I want everyone. Jesus had always shown me in these prayers and in the visions and stuff, though the most important thing that I would say is that Jesus said that the second commandment he gave us, the two new commandments, I think it's John 3:6 something, or 6:3. I give you two new commandments. One is obviously follow God and no worship no other gods, but God first in your life. The second commandment is love your neighbor as I have loved you. That says Jesus has loved you. So it's not love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's the King James Version, and even the Catholic, they changed some words around in there a bit. But if you look under John 3:6, I think that is 6:3:1. Jesus says it this way. I give you two new commandments. Love your neighbor as I have loved you. So Jesus loved us with perfect love. Perfected love. He died for us. He was willing to give his life. He's showing you examples to do what's right. You should be willing to give your life, but not everybody's called to that. But you're supposed to treat others better than yourself. That's what he did. You're supposed to feed the hungry, clothe the ones who need clothing, housing. That's how we're supposed to live, not in this Zionist beast system that we're in now with fake paper money, screwing everybody each other over. I don't know how we're going to fix our minds because we're all stuck in the trap of this beast system. So I don't know the way out. If you went to the mountains and went off grid, which you people do, they're just going to come by with drones and spray you. That's what they're going to do if you don't conform, if they get control. So what you Catholics, what Christians have to do is unite. They don't have to unite their faiths in the sense of their exact beliefs. They have to unite in one cause. We need crusaders. We need to be united. We will be defeated under the new world order of Lucifer if we do not unite. So I'm going to end with, I wish peace on the world and on all the Christians, that we all learn to love one another as Jesus has taught us and gave us the examples of what to do. Remember, there are people trying to get into heaven, and he says, get away from me. You never gave me food. You never clothed me. You never visited me in prison. You never tried to heal me. Go away. But we drove demons out in your name. No, I don't know you. You don't. Remember the Protestant, the deists that I showed earlier in the video? That's the Protestant faith. I'm sorry. It's not an insult. I'm tricked too. I have a lot of evil going on in me, even in my faith, the Roman Catholic Church. I stay with it because I don't believe in divorce, and that would be leaving the bride of Christ. I am not leaving, and I'm a child of Christ. I'm not leaving his church. I don't care how much they attack it. I'm not leaving his church. End of story. I've read Protestant stuff. There's nothing like really bad in there, except for they're watering it down. So not to do the good deeds. Oh, your works are like dirty rags. Like they're talking about the works of the law, dude. That's what the Jewish people were doing. And that's the dirty rags because you're not living it. That's why Jesus wrote it on our heart. It's in your heart what's right and good. Follow the commandments. If you follow the first two commandments, that the two new commandments Jesus gave us, you're following all the commandments. It's that simple. You're a Christian then, a real Christian. You're doing good works. That means the Holy Spirit's alive in you. And the more good works you do, and the more you're going to suffer. As soon as you start doing good, you're going to get attacked. But is it worth it or not? It's what do you believe? Okay, I'm going to end with another Our Father, and I'm going to do a Hail Mary. So in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Ghost, amen. Love that delay. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed are you among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. I want to explain something for anyone Protestant, and I doubt I have any Protestants listening to this. The Hail Mary, the first part of the prayer is just scripture. All you're doing is quoting scripture. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. That's the angel Gabriel. Blessed are you among women. She said yes to Jesus, to the angel Gabriel, to God. She said yes. What's the fruit of thy womb, Jesus? Is Elizabeth, her cousin Elizabeth, when she visits her and the baby jumps in her womb, that John the Baptist. They recognize her, and that's what she also adds. Who am I that the Lord, the mother of my Lord, should come to visit me, or something in the Bible? I'm not real good at quoting Bible verses. I'm 70, and I think there are some things I forget from time to time. So after, bless the fruit of your womb, the word Jesus is added. That's not in scripture, but the fruit of her womb is Jesus. And then it's Holy Mary, Mother of God. She is the mother of the human form of Jesus, God. Jesus is fully human and fully divine. And she is the mother of Jesus. So, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. So it's a simple request. Pray for me. Because we're not telling her to do it. Although she does have the keys, Jesus does not refuse his mother, as we learned in the wedding at Cana. If she asks, he does it. It's his mother. Like everybody does what their mom, doesn't refuse their mother or anything. You don't want to refuse your mother or anything. And so if she asks Jesus to help out Tony with his hip, I'm praying that she does that, and Jesus will not say no to his mother. We assume as Catholics, because there's nothing, obviously, for me. I mean, I have to be truthful. There's a lot of miracles that show things, and maybe yes, probably yes, but there's always room for maybe we're saying it in a little wrong way, kind of. But it's just a prayer for people in heaven. When we pray to St. Anthony, pray for me. St. Jude, pray for me. Doesn't matter the saint. A saint is just someone in heaven. And we believe they're alive in heaven and can pray for you. That's just it. When we address Jesus, it's Jesus, hear our prayer. Jesus, answer my prayer. I'm just giving a basic response. So when we do address Jesus and God the Father directly and the Holy Spirit directly too, if we talk, Archangel Michael, who battled Satan, we ask him to pray for us, because the only person who has the power is Jesus, is God, the Holy Trinity. The saints are the saints, and the angels are the angels. But they're in heaven, they're alive. How could they be in heaven and be dead? They're in heaven. And if you have the Christian faith who says, "Oh no, they're dead. We're waiting for the resurrection of whatever," like yeah. And for 1,500 years, that's not what Christians believe. Actually, that probably about 1,800 years or 1,900. I'll say so. God bless everyone. I don't know. It says there's 19 people viewing. I doubt that very much. And I'm sorry about the choppy. They will not let me make videos that work. They're very afraid of what I say, and I don't know why. Because I'm terrible at doing this and I ramble on. But God bless everyone, and enjoy the fall weather that's coming, and watch the civil unrest unfold in Chicago, specifically when the gangs start shooting at the ICE agents. I'm so sad for what's going on in the world. And Israel is leading that on and taking a long time killing the Gazans, which is very cruel, by the way, starving them and killing them, to get everyone to hate Jews all over the world, to get that war. So the Jews are being used as cannon fodder by the Zionists, even if they're Zionist Jews, if they're the lower class. You're not going to see Netanyahu getting spit at in the face or whatever, arrested. Unless things turn around, because there is a vision I had of him hanging and his neck snapping. So, not that I like to see bad things happen to everyone, but if Israel got a new government that was like the original Jewish faith, and you didn't have to be Jewish to be in the government, and everyone had the right to vote, kind of like America used to be, like everybody's equal, no matter what race or religion. If Israel was a country like that, and they weren't controlling the money system, you gotta get rid of the central bank Rothschild people. Sorry. By the way, they have it's just another vision, which scared the heck out of me. There is somewhere, I'm going to say it's in Switzerland in the mountains, because I don't know exactly, but this is what I kind of saw, a mansion, like tucked in the mountainside, like in the mountains, high up. But they have a downstairs, like underground thing. And this is dark room with all kinds of satanic stuff hanging on the walls, and this big, long table. Big, big, big table. And they're all wearing like black hood, like black and black, and they're doing rituals. And I saw these rituals, and I was watching them, and then all of a sudden they looked up and saw me there. It's like God put me there, and it scared me, and I went back to where I was because they saw me. And that happened to me with Barack Obama, the demon Bezalel, said his name was. I don't know. So the demon said his name was. He's in the Bible, very powerful demon. And that's the demon that controls Barack Obama. And I was there, and they were looking at me. And I know they saw me, and I saw them. So those kind of, what do you call it, remote viewing, almost, if you were taking taking God out of the scenario. They call it in Catholic religion like bilocation, or, where your soul can actually be somewhere else. God can take you there, an angel. I think it's in the Bible a lot, where the angels take them somewhere and show them stuff in the future, and whatnot. And so that's a really scary stuff. Trust me. Very, very scary. But I'm not as as afraid of demons. Even if one manifested right next to me right now, I'm not afraid of him because Jesus is with me. I don't really care what he does. They don't bother me no more. I mean, I still have bad things happening to me and whatever. And my money situation is horrible. And I'm not asking for any money. I don't charge. I don't have a thing. Send me money. I don't have nothing like that set up. Don't send anybody who says to me. I don't ask for any money. God gives me the information for free. If it's really from God and you believe it's from God and you don't have to believe it's from God, I tell you stories of my life. Those are true stories. I don't make up lies. But he gave it to me for free. I give it to you for free. I'm not here to make money off of people for telling them what God told me. What I think God told me, even if I'm wrong. I'm not taking your money. I don't have nothing too, and I'm very poor. And I'm having health issues. But I will not, I don't know. God will provide for me. I'm not worried about it. I have children. I have grandchildren. I have beautiful family. I have everything you could ever want. More than money. If I had too much money, I might have turned into some other kind of imbecile. You know, it's bad enough how I am now. Imagine giving me $40 million, which Clear Channel owes me. Imagine giving me $40 million. What would I turn into, Donald Trump? You know, oh my God forbid. I don't want to be like that. I've had people steal so much money and try and kill me. Do you think I couldn't have just found out to hire somebody when I had a little bit of money and got that person killed or did something to them? I certainly could have did that. But I wouldn't. I will not become what they are. I will not leave Christ. I will not become a murderer. I will not become a thief. I will not become vengeful. I will protect myself and my family, but I will not do that. I will not become what they are. So God bless. I don't know. I think I said I've never made a 2-hour video really that I remember where it was just me and yakking my head off by myself. I appreciate anyone who stayed and listened to me as I poured my heart out to you tonight. But I think I'm going to like the story about my wife. That was the girl that was passing out. I think God was the joker, you know, because the picture with me in it at her confirmation where I photobombed her and I didn't know her. It was her and I didn't know her. And that 20 years later, after we're married, 20 years almost, it comes in the mail and, you know, for when their uncle dies, and there I am. So I photobombed her to freak out the family, sort of. And I'm the one who got freaked out that I married the girl I photobombed. I just think that's kind of funny. Oh, anyway, take care, everyone, and God bless. Have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. And pray, 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 pray. Fast, fast, fast. Repent and make reparation. Feed the hungry. Clothe the poor. Visit somebody in prison. Pray for people's healings. You never know. God gave me the red fireball and the rosary beads. And just recently, I told you about the hummingbird and the bird coming in the house on the porch. It's a really weird thing because I asked for a bird to come close to me. I can't help to laugh and ask for the butterfly. And this black butterfly, which is unusual, came right up and looked at me like kind of and then flew away. I'm like, that's a little weird because that's what I asked for. So I have to trust in the Lord. And I guess I asked that are you going to heal me? So he showed me the signs if you're going to heal me, but also if the messages were really from God. And I think if you listen to me talk tonight, twice, you will know a prophet by the fruits he produces. Am I saying anything evil to that sounds against God? If I am, please let me know, because I want to be aware of, and I'm looking for confirmations if people believe me. So I don't see any comments anywhere. I mean, I'll look, but I don't even know if this is working where people can hear me on the broadcast. So again, everyone, God bless and good evening. And I'm just blabbed for 2 hours and 9 minutes and 48, 49, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4.